If I reflect back at this year, particularly at the beginning part of the year, I could probably sum it up in 3 words. I think there was uncertainty, there was chaos, and then there was urgency.
And I think that there's one other piece, Warren, that's going to create some urgency, and that's going to be rising electric rates. So we saw that in 2025, and we expect that to happen potentially again in 2026.
If you have a larger project or there's any concern at all that we wouldn't be able to make that end of 2027 deadline, you should be safe harboring and locking in your project and your tax credit by July 3rd. Welcome to our December 2025 In the Loop with Larry, where we're going to discuss some of the news-breaking industry issues that happened in 2025 and kind of talk through that and reflect back. And then we're going to discuss what we think are going to be the groundbreaking, news-breaking news items of 2026. So welcome, Larry.
Thanks, Warren.
Yeah. So, wow, what a year 2025 has been. I think if I reflect back at this year, particularly at the beginning part of the year, I could probably sum it up in 3 words. I think there was uncertainty, there was chaos, and then there was urgency. Maybe not in that order. Maybe urgency came at the end, but there was chaos, uncertainty, and then urgency throughout the year. And it really all started with the rumblings of this one big, beautiful bill and what that was going to look like. We initially thought that when Donald Trump mentioned that he's all in on energy, that there wasn't going to be a gut to the solar incentives, or at least the ITC, until we got very close to the signing of the one big, beautiful bill. And the Freedom Caucus came in at the last minute and negotiated really the end of the ITC as we know it.
Yeah, it's been quite a ride this year, Warren, and I think the 3 words that you mentioned are very, very appropriate. I mean, we started out in January with an adjustment to the domestic content guidance, which wasn't crazy, but it was still an adjustment. It was still a change. And then right off of that, we started hearing rumblings about this bill. And initially, I would have thought maybe it would come late in 2025 or even in 2026. But it soon became pretty clear they're going to try to push this thing through as quickly as they can, and it might happen by, end of Q2, mid 2025, which was a little bit of a surprise that they could pull something through that quickly. But it became apparent that they really wanted to pull it off as quickly as they could.
Right, and they did. I think they were shooting for Memorial Day, and they got it done a week or so later.
Yeah, it was very remarkable.
A month and a half later. Yeah.
Yep. The speed was remarkable. And I think what made it challenging, Warren, you alluded to this already, was just the back and forth. So like you said, initially it was like, let's do all the above. Let's do energy in any way that we can. It soon became clear there's members of Congress that want to do away with all subsidies, all tax credits, all tax credits really for wind and solar especially. And then there was a lot of back and forth through the month of May, through the month of June, and then finally got signed in July.
Correct. And we heard the rumblings 2 or 3 days before the one big, beautiful bill was signed into law that this deal was struck behind the scenes with the Freedom Caucus that Donald Trump agreed to sign an executive order tightening the ability to safe harbor projects, and that was coming in days. And that came, I believe, the Monday, if I remember correctly, July 4th was on a Saturday, and then either the Monday or the Tuesday, the executive order was signed, really to end market distortions and make it more difficult to safe harbor.
Yeah. So typically, once you have a signed bill, you're done. Like, you just have to digest it. You have to figure out what it means. Right. And we felt pretty good about the bill because it gave us, to the end of 2027 to install any commercial project. The biggest challenge is that it's ended the residential by end of 2025. That was a really kind of a difficult last second twist, and they tried to extend that and were unable to. But then, they had the safe harbor provision through July of 2026 to allow projects to get built beyond 2027. So we felt really good about where the bill ended up at the end of the day. except for this executive order, which you're right, came out a few days later. And the title doesn't sound very good. Ending market distorting subsidies for unreliable foreign controlled energy sources, obviously very clearly aimed at solar and wind. You can say what you want, but very, very clearly it became clear that that's what this was aimed at. And so immediately we got into safe harbor mode, Warren, and we're like, we got to safe harbor projects because we don't know what this is going to do.
Correct. And there was in that executive order a 45-day window for the Treasury Department to come out with guidance on FEOC. And we were anxiously waiting for those 45 days, and they came out with partial guidance on August 15th, which was a tremendous relief.
The guidance that came out on August 15th was certainly a relief. We expected, we weren't sure. We expected the guidance could be retroactive. So that means that anything that was safe harbor potentially from the start of 2025 could be incomplete potentially. It wasn't retroactive. It actually gave us a couple of week window to safe harbor additional projects if we wanted to. So that was one good thing. The other good thing, Warren, is it did not do away with the 5% safe harbor for projects 1.5 megawatts and under, which is a lot of what we do. That was the other concern, that they would make the safe harbor 20% or 50% or some number that would make projects just not be able to safe harbor at all, or at least not very well. So they kept the 5% safe harbor for projects 1.5 megawatts and under, and they kept the physical work test for larger projects. They changed that slightly, so it's a little bit harder to comply with the physical work test, but at least it wasn't retroactive, and at least they kept the 5% for smaller projects. So those were both huge for our market, our current market.
Correct. And that created this sense of urgency from that August 15th date until the end of this year in order for commercial projects to sign up and safe harbor against FEOC, as well as the ITC.
Yeah. So there were kind of two different tracks. All of a sudden, there's an urgency for residential projects to sign and install before the end of the year. And it wasn't long after the bill was signed that we were full for the rest of the year for residential projects. And then the other piece was commercial projects. And, there were two kind of safe harbor windows there, Warren. You already mentioned FEOC. So the guidance on August 15th didn't give us guidance on FEOC. We have a little bit of an understanding of what that might be, but not fully. And so any project that we can safe harbor by into this year, we can avoid FEOC, and we've been able to do that and have a lot of projects in the pipeline that are safe harbored. And then sometime, Q1, Q2 of next year, hopefully we get final FEOC guidance, and then we have until July 3rd to safe harbor to build beyond the 2027 deadline. So kind of two different tracks, residential versus commercial, but commercial has two different safe harbor windows as well.
And so if you were looking to install a residential project and get the tax credit, that ship has sailed for all intents and purposes at this point. And if you're looking to safe harbor and avoid the FEOC requirements, we're down to the wire. You would have to have really signed a project by this week in order to make that happen.
Yep, that's right, Warren. So then the last window is the July 3rd safe harbor window. And hopefully, we get FEOC in the next couple of months and figure out what that means.
Yeah. And so we're going to jump right into that in just a minute, Larry, what 2026 looks like. But other than all of this one big, beautiful bill, the executive order, the FEOC requirements, and the ITC, there was still an impact in some significant news in the solar industry that I think some of it stemmed from just higher interest rates for a long period of time. Other challenges, supply chain challenges in the industry, and maybe some market segments slowing down. But we did see a couple of bankruptcies, major bankruptcies this year.
Yes, that's right, Warren. Solar Mosaic was a big one. They financed residential projects. They were financing a lot of residential projects. They filed for bankruptcy, Chapter 11, in June of 2025. And then Sonova is a pretty large installation company that filed for Chapter 11 also in June of 2025. So I guess one of the questions could be like, what caused this? Was it the bill? Was it high interest rates? Um, Probably more high interest rates because that's been in place for some time.
Yeah.
But certainly a bill like this doesn't help when you see the end of the residential tax credit coming to a close by end of this year.
Right. Particularly when a lot of these residential projects, particularly those two companies, relied on the financing component of it.
Right. Right.
All right. So let's talk about what it's going to be, the breaking news in 2026. You alluded to it already, the July 3rd cliff of being able to safe harbor.
Yep, that's going to be a big one for commercial projects. So we're going to, as soon as we get through this safe harbor window in 2025, we're going to start gearing up and preparing for what that looks like for safe harbor by July 3rd. Now, again, any commercial project can build, install, and get PTO by the end of 2027 and be fine, and not even have to safe harbor. But there's going to be risk. So if we sign a relatively large project by middle of next year, how long will that project take to develop? What about supply chain issues? So we're going to be encouraging most of our projects, especially larger ones, to safe harbor. So if it spills into 2028, we're in good shape.
Yeah. So just to recap that, if you are looking to safe harbor, if you're confident we can install your project, get on the calendar, get it developed, engineered, permitted, and installed by the end of 2027, there's not that much of a concern. However, our calendars are filling up pretty quickly, and we expect that window to close probably sometime this year. I mean, sometime in 2026. But if you're if you have a larger project, or there's any concern at all that we wouldn't be able to make that end of 2027 deadline, you should be safe harboring and locking in your project and your tax credit by July 3rd. So that's going to be big news. But at the same time, we're going to have challenges. I mean, these FEOC requirements, along with requirements for domestic content from the IRA bill, are causing supply chain issues, Larry, price increases, uncertainty. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, supply chain is a big thing in a lot of industries right now because of tariffs. So there's a lot of industries, not only solar, that are kind of wrestling through the tariff piece. What makes it probably more challenging for solar is there's a potential tariff on polysilicon coming early next year. It's the 232 tariff. That's going to most likely increase costs. And then you have the regular tariffs that everyone else is experiencing beyond that. And then you have this FEOC piece that nobody knows exactly what it's going to mean yet. Once we get guidance, companies are going to scramble to make sure their supply chains are free from those foreign entities so they can still get the tax credit. And then in addition, you have inflation on top of that as well. And you mentioned domestic content, Warren. That's another piece. Domestic content, in order to get an additional 10% tax credit, you can do that by getting enough domestic content products on your project. So all of these things create what I would call parallel supply chains, where instead of just one supply chain that every product can go through for every project, you now have your domestic content supply chain and your FEOC supply chain and your foreign supply chain, and they all have to produce enough by themselves for their projects, and there can't be any crossover, or you might lose incentives, and so that just adds complexity.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, Larry. I think there's rumblings, and we don't know this yet because the guidance hasn't come out, but the requirements for FEOC we're expecting it to be similar to domestic content. And then you have, I think what you're alluding to here is the aggregate of demand for domestic content, for FEOC, for all of these things that's really going to put a shock in the system and cause prices to go up. And that's another reason why you should, if you are safe harboring, put more than 5% down so that you can make sure that you cover yourself for those price increases.
Yep, that's right, Warren. So hopefully domestic content and FEOC are the same. If they are, then that's just one supply chain. If they're different, then that's potentially two supply chains that we'll need to track and make sure that we're ordering against.
Yes. Looking back at 2025, and when I talked about what I thought was uncertainty and chaos and then urgency, looking forward to 2026, I hope there's no chaos. I hope there's a little more certainty, but there's still going to be most certainly a sense of urgency.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. There's going to be urgency. But the bill's behind us. So we know for the most part what that means. So that's helpful. So there's a little more certainty. There certainly will be urgency. And I think that there's one other piece, Warren, that's going to create some urgency, and that's going to be rising electric rates. So we saw that in 2025. We saw 6 to 13% rise compared to 2024, according to the EIA. And we expect that to happen potentially again in 2026. More data centers, more electric vehicles, more load on the grid. There's going to be an urgency to get solar installed because of rising electric rates as well.
Yep. And we have seen the shutdown of coal plants really across the region. And it takes a long time to bring those back online. We're not expecting electric rates to decline anytime soon, but the increase to continue.
Yep, absolutely. And I think the other piece of that too, Warren, is any other new generation takes time to bring online. You mentioned coal plants, even nuclear, natural gas.
Yeah.
There's long lead times there. Solar and wind we can get on quickly. We just need to find the right economics to make it work.
So I think those are the big headlines coming in 2026. The big July 3rd cliff, make sure you safe harbor by then. Safe harbor for a little more than 5% to protect yourself from inflation or hardware price issues, potential tariffs, etc. And most certainly, solar is going to continue to be a great investment as electric prices continue to rise. I'm sure AI is going to have a massive demand on electricity too.
Absolutely.
Super. Well, it's going to be an exciting year, 2026. It was a challenging year, but exciting 2025. And I'm looking forward to it, Larry. Thank you so much for your time.
Yep. Thanks, Warren.